This is a story about what happens when you have breast cancer, told in real time.
Hey everybody, we're back with an update on where Kristen is after many months of not hearing from her directly. She's been interviewing Natasha, but she's back to talk to me, Eva, about what's been happening. And I actually don't know everything, so I might actually be surprised, and I might say actually a few more times.
Actually,
The last time we actually had shit. The last time we had an episode focused on your story was in August of 2022. And I remember this one because you were talking about wearing flesh-colored socks and cutting the toes out so that you could wear flip-flops to a wedding, which is, like, I'm sure, an exceptionally high point in your story.
it was a proud day. We'll just say super proud.
You had the flip-flops on. You made it. So it's been, 6 months since we had an in-depth update from you. So it's a good time to check in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the last time we really talked about my health and anything aside from my amazing flip-flops.
Oh, hold on. Wait a second. I have learned a few things in the meantime. I mean, it's been exceptionally busy, but you moved again. Start there and tell me why you had to move again.
Well, so I have moved again. I'm in Escondido now. I am about 15 to 20 miles from where I grew up. And I went to boarding school about 6 miles from here up the road. This is one of my favorite places in San Diego. You guys know, Eva, how much I love the beach. I didn't realize this was one of my favorite places until I lived here. And we're up in the hills. It's really beautiful. And I'm on probably about half acre to 3/4 of an acre. I'm living with two of my closest friends here. I met them about 3.5 years ago. And one is my meditation teacher. And then another woman, Moksha, who I met through my meditation teacher. And I have never felt so safe in my life as with these women. At almost 58 years old, I never thought I was going to have roommates again. Who thinks that, right?
No,
and
nobody.
And to be candid, I came to the realization when I moved from Del Mar that I had some issues with my feet, and then had moved and had a roommate. And that situation at the time, I didn't think it was a blessing, but it is, that it went sour pretty quickly. And so I had the opportunity to move, but I did realize through that process that I'm not able to live alone anymore. And not only do I have some limitations, but it's probably something in my life that I wanted to avoid, is at 58 years old, feeling like I couldn't live alone.
Is it really just the feet, or is it other stuff?
It has to do with what we can talk a little bit about my feet. My feet have gotten better. It has to do with the effects from chemo and the combination of medications. My balance is really bad. About 2 months ago, I fell in my driveway and broke several ribs. And I fell in my driveway. Just got out of my car, lost my balance, and I fell so hard that I broke ribs. And I thought I had ruptured my implant, not because anything was wrong, but I fell so hard. And it was a Friday evening, and I just wasn't focused on what I was doing. But, I'm able to have Jack on a leash. Thank goodness Jack was on a leash and not in my arms, because his little body would have been smushed.
Oh, yeah, you would have squished him. You remember when I broke ribs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Worst thing that has ever happened to me.
It is unreal. Unreal.
Mm-hmm. So you couldn't move for what, a month?
Yeah, pretty close. Well, what's really interesting is that had I had real boobs and still had all of my blood vessels and all of my tissue, it would have been a really huge black, probably bruise on my breast. But instead, it just made what was radiated look a lot darker. And then it was also bruised around the side. And so I really do think that that had to do with the implant. But I went to the emergency room the next day, and they saw a fractured rib, rib 7. And they said, with the implant, we really want you to go see your plastic surgeon. And so poor Dr. Pacella,
Like, it's me again.
Hey, it's been 6 months. I've been bored. Time to come see ya. Anyway, so I told him what happened. And they ordered an ultrasound, and he did an exam. He said, I don't think that it's ruptured. And he said, as a matter of fact, your whole chest could be concave and these things would probably still be intact. And I said, okay. And so that kind of like led me to these implants may have helped to break the ribs, right? So I'm like, I have one fractured rib and it hurts this much. There's no way.
They didn't do the right films, did they?
No. So fast forward a little bit. They do the ultrasound and they're like, oh, it looks great. Everything's fine except this little spot right here. We see something that we feel like needs to be checked into a little deeper. And she said, we would consider doing a biopsy right here, except we don't want to add more trauma to that area. Oh, and it's backed up against your implant. So we have to be really careful. So there's about a 4 millimeter.
On the back side?
No, on the front side.
Okay.
It's really just hard to explain. When you go to have an ultrasound for something else, and the tech goes, I'll be right back with the doctor. And my heart sank. And so the radiologist comes in and she says, yeah, I would biopsy this, but I don't want to do more trauma to the area. So I'm going to send these films back to your doctor and he might want to get an MRI and a biopsy. And I think I texted you and Natasha. I think I said something like, I can't speak. I can barely breathe.
Oh, that was that day.
I'll tell you guys what's going on later. And it was true. I couldn't speak. And I had to keep just trying to catch my breath because it's not that it was gloom and doom and I thought it was something big because it was 4 millimeters and it was on my chest. Okay, so that to me was kind of good news, except all I could think of is, I don't want to do this fucking stuff again. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I just got finished. This was right around the time of my 2-year anniversary of my diagnosis. And it's a really big deal to go 2 years without a recurrence. It's a really big deal because the longer you go without a recurrence, the less likely there is that a recurrence will happen. And so I was very nervous about this. And it took forever to get the MRI. And they got the MRI and it was a very low chance that it was malignant. It was a 3 to 10% chance that it was malignant. And Dr. Pacella said, I really just think it's either fat necrosis or scar tissue. But,
it's just a Skittle that you dropped down there.
Yeah, that's it. That's a Skittle that I dropped. And so I got the MRI and Dr. Pacella says, I don't think it's anything, but the radiologist really wants a biopsy. And so I said, all right. So I go in, I'm doing the biopsy, and I believe I wrote something for our newsletter right before I was going into the biopsy. And I really had gone down the road of, all right, this spring I'm just going to go visit everybody. And I mean, it was like going through that a little bit, like going through that period when I didn't know what was going to happen, And I'm more resilient than that, but it's trauma. And it sounds so dramatic, but it's just, you don't want to go through it again. And I didn't want that to be season 3. And part of that is because there are a lot of women who have written to us who have said that we have given them hope. And I really did feel a weight on my shoulders that I would be letting down the audience if I had a recurrence. Silly, right? But still, I really felt a certain responsibility with that.
I can see that.
And I'm going to be really honest, that was probably number 6 on my list of concerns, but it was a concern. And so they come in and she said that the the same doctor that I saw, she said, I really don't think we need to do a biopsy on this. I think this is just scar tissue. And I said, are you sure? And she said, I'm pretty sure. And I said, I need to be 100% sure because we're sitting here. It's been approved by my insurance. Let's just do this. And I think part of her hesitation really was because it was backed up against the implant.
Oh.
And she didn't want to rupture the implant. I have to say it was pretty cool watching this needle on there go to the spot and get it. And so they did the biopsy and all of that. And Dr. Pacella called me a little bit later, and I had already seen the report that said that it was not malignant.
But to your point about the implant, I do have a client who has a social media team, and one of the things they just did was, I'm making a face right now because I can't believe anyone thinks this is their job. But they made a video for TikTok where they stepped on an implant with all these different kinds of shoes to see if it would pop. And they probably could have drove a truck over this thing and it wouldn't rupture.
Okay, that's good.
Now I can say that I actually learned something from TikTok that was useful, other than how to clean my house.
Well, I was just thinking that the sharp objects might do it. But anyway, I saw the report that said that it was not malignant, but it said that it left room for interpretation that they got the right spot. It kind of said, we're not sure they got the right tissue. I mean, if you read it, right? And so I was like, I need Dr. Pacella to let me know this. And so he called me, and, when a doctor calls you, you're like, oh, sure,
Oh, no. I wanted you to look at it. I didn't want you to call me.
Yeah, just have your nurse talk to me. But he did call, and he was very sweet. And he said, it's scar tissue, Kristen. And it's really good news. It's just scar tissue. And then he said, with that said, if you have any pains anywhere that last more than 3 weeks, you need to call your oncologist. He had to give me the speech of, with this situation, there is a chance of recurrence. And so we had a nice conversation. I asked him about his ski trip and his knee, and, it was fine. And so that's great news. But prior to, this is back in September and October, I had some really bad rib pain. And it was my ribs on both sides, my rib cages. And it was hanging on for a very long time. And there was a part of my chest that was swollen, like in the center, like over my sternum. And it was really, really sore right there. And so I went to the urgent care after talking to one of Dr. Ali's nurses, and they did a CT scan. And she came back and she said, I don't see anything as far as any metastasis, but there is a shady lymph node that's deep down below your sternum. And I need you to bring this to the attention of your oncologist, and you need to follow up with her. And I said, okay. So this was a couple months before this other situation. I was really glad to see that there was no metastasis, and I didn't think there was. It was just that now there's a shady lymph node. And it's also, just as a point of reference, I had been seeing Christine to do the lymphedema treatments. And I said, look at this. Does this look puffy? And she's like, yeah. She's like, that could just be from the stitch where Dr. Pacella, he put an extra stitch on the left side to make kind of a pocket for the implant, so it didn't, fall down at all. And then when I told her about the lymph node thing, she said, it really could be that lymph node is taking the brunt of that stitch that is dissolving. So I talked to Dr. Ali, takes a look at the CT scan, orders a bone scan. And she says, after seeing that the bone scan was, ready for this, completely clean, amazingly clean, she thinks that the lymph node could just be agitated, but she said, we want to do another CT scan before I see you in February, just to be sure it hasn't changed. And so that's where we were before I fell, right? So it's like every fucking month, something's going on. Oh, and by the way, every 3 weeks, a bladder infection. Every 3 weeks. As soon as I finished an antibiotic, I had a bladder infection again. And so it was just this like, are you kidding me? Like, can I never be well? And I finally I started, see, I can't believe I'm telling you this. There's these things that are called bladder installations that they do, and didn't know about it. My wonderful gynecologist and urologist, he works actually really closely with Dr. Ali. And he and I had actually had a conversation about whether or not I needed a hysterectomy, because we had talked about that because of the ovaries and all of that kind of stuff. And we decided that that was not going to be on the table, which was a relief for me, because I was like, I just don't want another surgery. But because my mom had ovarian cancer, I really had to have a heart to heart with myself and with him about that. And so I said, well, what's with all these bladder infections? He said, hey, the next time you get one, just call my nurse up. They'll do a bladder installation, and, we'll get you all fixed up. I'm like, okay, what is that? Oh, we just put a catheter in, and then we put some medicine in there, and we take a sample to see if it's an infection or not. And if it's an infection, we give you some antibiotics. Otherwise, there's some stuff that numbs it and actually strengthens your bladder. Like, okay. So about a month later, call the nurse and they do a bladder installation. And I mean, I'm 58 years old and I'm having a catheter put in my bladder to relieve the pain that you have from a bladder infection, right?
So are you dating at all?
No. Why would I date? You thinking I was getting busy and that's why I was getting these?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I'm just trying to imagine you navigating all of this and like trying to go out on dates at the same time.
No. I can't. No. There is no part of me ever in the world that wants to date again.
Oh, no.
I know. It was just as soon as I said that, Mr. Wonderful's going to write in.
That's how it works.
Yeah. Anyway, so about every month now I go and get a bladder installation because I get these bladder infections and take some antibiotics and then they go away. And, and I've cut sugar completely out of my diet. Well, because I was trying all the dietary things I could do, to try to get rid of these. So it's, knock on wood, it's been 5 weeks since I've had a bladder infection, which is a record right now. Anyway, so last fall, there's all this that went on, right? And it was just like every month something was going on. And then I fall. And it was after a meditation retreat that I went on. And if you remember, I found out that it has to do with my balance and it has to do with my feet. And so the fall led to all this stuff. So there wasn't a month last fall that I didn't have some kind of CT scan, bone scan, MRI, biopsy, something. And I'm just like, I've just been really ready to be well.
When you talk to other people who are going through a similar journey to yours, does this happen to everybody like this? Like Deborah, who works with me, she had breast cancer 3-4 years ago. She hardly has anything happen to her.
I think it depends on the treatments, and how you're affected by it, because I don't have neuropathy in my feet anymore.
It's gone?
Yeah, the neuropathy's gone. The issue is that the neuropathy destroyed the structure of my foot. And so my Achilles was strained. And then I had all this fascia that was built up because I wasn't moving very much because I didn't want to fall. And because I didn't move very much, it made the fascia really tight, which made all of my muscles tight, which made it really hard for me to walk. And I still have issues in my heel, like a lot of foot pain in my heel. And I haven't walked great distances, but my feet and legs are 85% better than when we
Wow.
last talked. I don't get them taped anymore. The key was that sports medicine physical therapist. He gave me exercises that I do. And I think last time we talked, we were talking about how much time I spend stretching and on my lymphedema
Oh,
machine,
yeah.
on like,
Oh, I think I calculated that you were spending something like 2.5 hours a day
yeah.
just on stretching, wasn't it?
It was stretching and it was doing things to be able to walk through my life. And I'm down to about 40 minutes, which is great. And I do it in increments. And I've also taken off some weight, which has helped quite a bit. I am still 25 pounds above where I started. But I'll get there. And so that has taken a lot of the weight off of my joints and stuff too. The bone pain is still there that I have from the estrogen blockers. But to go back and answer your question, does it happen to everybody? I really think that I always joke that I got the full MD Anderson experience. I got all the chemo, I got the max radiation, I got the max reconstruction, and I'm in my late 50s now. And so I don't know if it has to do with my body not bouncing back. I don't know. And I will say that I didn't eat great during chemo. What I did find out is that more than 2 weeks of radiation destroys your digestive system for the rest of your life. And that's just radiation. That has nothing to do with what chemo destroyed. And so I've changed most things about my diet. I eat a very weird diet now. No uncooked foods. What we're trying to do is to heal my digestive tract.
So no raw food, no,
Fruits. I can eat raw fruits, some raw fruits, but
but not like
not like salad.
salad.
Mm-mm. And nuts need to be cooked. It's an Ayurvedic kind of a thing. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm losing weight on it, which is great. It's just I'm doing a lot to heal this first, and like no cold foods, like water is at room temperature, no smoothies, no ice cream. If you think about it, the things that, like, I used to like bubbly water because of the good burn kind of that I would get from it, you know, but I can't have bubbly waters or anything like that. It's really just, I'm just trying to heal all of my digestive tract, and then I can ease those things in possibly. So I don't know if I'm an anomaly or if it's normal. I haven't talked to a lot of people who had the same stage as I've had and have had all of the treatments, but I have heard women talk about their feet, have their balance, all of that. The balance stuff does have to do with a combination of medications that I'm taking. And so I'm trying to get off of some of the antidepressant stuff in a very slow way because that combined with the arimidex is affecting my balance. So in general, I'm doing great. We're talking about all of these things that have happened, but I'm going to back up. The scans, those are pretty normal, I'll be honest. And, the anxiety is real. And if you think about it, it's trauma. I hadn't had a biopsy that came back fine. I hadn't had an MRI that came back fine. And so now I have. And so I have that baseline to work from going forward, whereas I didn't have that before. And I was fresh off all of the surgeries, all of, still, I mean, I was showing you earlier, you can still see the radiation burns.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely darker on that side. And that's the small piece of this. But I will say the skin is so sensitive. To even touch it hurts still. And it's been a year and a half. So, I mean, these are all things that I think a lot of people go through. I didn't realize that not moving was affecting me that much. I was just trying not to fall. And everybody talks about, you need to walk, you need to walk, you need to walk. I get that. But when I walked, I fell. And this last time I fell, I actually broke bones.
Mm-hmm.
And my bones are brittle now because of the aromatics, because of the estrogen blocker.
A girl just ate it on the treadmill at Orange Theory the other day. I was
Oh,
like, you probably shouldn't walk.
seriously. All of that to say, I don't have confidence that I can live alone anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to be dramatic. My feet are getting better. All of that's getting better. It's just that if I were to fall, I need to have somebody around. My friend Jeff for Christmas.
Life alert?
He's
Did he get you
threatening.
one?
No, but I do have a lanyard that says fall risk, a little pin. And then he got me the hospital socks with the treads on the bottom. Yeah. Funny, Jeff. Funny. I have to laugh about it. I've done enough crying about it. I did that before. And I look at it now and my roommate is upstairs and there's a beautiful dinner waiting. She loves to cook. And so I really am fortunate, but the reason that I moved again really had to do with I didn't feel confidently living alone anymore. And I had the opportunity to live with these two beautiful women.
Did you have to break your lease? Were they cool about it?
They were cool after I got them a doctor's note.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And the doctor's note actually said, because what ended up happening is that my roommate basically bagged out. I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do this.
Oh.
And I was like, well, that's not cool because you're in a legal binding contract with me until next May. So you can either pay it in one one installment or in the next 9 installments.
Yikes.
And yeah. And so then I had this opportunity and went ahead and made that happen for him too. But I had a lot of hoops to jump through because it was a $6,500 reletting fee and got out of that. But I don't know where it is. I'll have to find it. The note that my doctor wrote was basically that I needed round the clock care. Well, and she kept seeing that I was falling all the time. So she's like, well, hell yeah, she needs round the clock care.
That's good.
I know. And Sammy's he's going to preschool. And so I have 3 mornings a week that I have off. So I've been doing some teaching online and actually just recently launched my own teaching and consulting company. And I have my first client that I saw this past weekend. And so, I'm going back to what feels good and being with kids, the online teaching, it's okay. Right. But being with the kids is fun and they get my jokes, which is amazing. But anyway, what else is going on? I don't know. I'm happy. I have a very different outlook probably than when we talked last.
You do. You're like a completely different person right now.
Really?
Yeah, you're back to the usual. You're my normal Kristen again.
Oh, I love to hear that.
You're like all shiny and sparkly and happy and
yay.
You're safe. I can tell that you're safe and you're not in such a vulnerable place, and that probably was just the thing that needed to happen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Completely. And in the places that I lived, like when I lived in my place in Del Mar, I needed to have people around me. And I didn't really realize that when I moved there. But I think the difference is, Eva, my chemo toenail has grown back. Like it's back. Yeah, looks like a regular toenail now.
That has to be the difference.
That is the difference. And I have a little bit of hair, and I know you think it's the wrong color, but
no, it's really pretty.
I do have a little gray that's showing, but I do have some curls in the back, and I haven't done a lot to it, but I do feel extremely safe. And I don't know, the route that I take to work, I'm in the mountains, kind of. And so when I get on the highway, the sun is coming up over the mountains to my left, and there are palm trees.
I've been seeing that in the morning too, and it's so gorgeous.
Isn't it so pretty? And then there are shadows of palm trees or, outlines of palm trees. So you're seeing the whole thing. And the time in my life when I felt most safe, aside from right now, was between the years of probably 14 and 20. And that's when I was living in Ramona. And I grew up out here and hung out in these mountains. And it just feels like home again. And I'm 11 miles from my nieces and my sister, and I'm only a half an hour from the beach. And so I don't know, it's just I feel really good. And I started taking some classes on how to teach meditation, and I just feel really centered. And it's, my community here is beautiful.
Okay. Did we cover all the bad things that happened?
Probably.
No more bad things. It's a new year.
No. Oh no, that's the thing. I think that's the
Yeah.
thing. I have had every scan in the book. I've had biopsies. I've had it all. My lymph node has resolved. The CT scan showed that my lymph node resolved. So
No longer shady.
no longer a shady lymph node. Mm-mm. All good. So yeah, everything's good.
Thank you for listening to Breast Cancer Stories. To continue telling this story and helping others, we need your help. All podcasts require resources, and we have a team of people who produce it. There's costs involved, and it takes time.
If you believe in what we're doing and have the means to support the show, you can make a one-time donation, or you can set up a recurring donation in any amount through the PayPal link on our website at breastcancerstoriespodcast.com/donate.
To get the key takeaways from each episode, links to anything we've talked about, and promo codes or giveaways from our partners, sign up for our email newsletter.
You'll get notes and thoughts from me related to each episode and links to the most useful resources for all the breast cancer things. So if you have chemo brain, you'll be able to just go read your email or find anything we talked about on the podcast without having to remember it.
The link to sign up is in your show notes and on the newsletter page at breastcancerstoriespodcast.com.
We promise not to annoy you with too many emails.
Thanks for listening to Breast Cancer Stories. If you're facing a breast cancer diagnosis and you want to tell your story on the podcast, send an email to hello@theaxis.io. I'm Eva Sheie, your host and executive producer. Production support for the show comes from Mary Ellen Clarkson, and our engineer is Daniel Croeser. Breast Cancer Stories is a production of The Axis, THEAXIS.io.